All right, there we go. The microphone's now on. Looking good. Got a good Friday, too, my friends. Welcome to another episode of Haff in the Morning. And it comes your way in 3, 2, and 1. Coming up on this edition of Haff in the Morning. Just hours after calling protest unfair, Trump goes, blah. All right, let's do this again. This time without the bloopers. Okay, I tell you what, I'm going to write a quick intro. For some reason, my brain's like, you want to talk this morning? Well, you better write this stuff down, because I don't think you're going to be able to think off the top of your head. So you just go up to that Windows there, and you go and look for that notepad program, and you can type out your notes there, sonny boy. All right, let's see here. Hours. All right, here we go. Hours after calling protest unfair, Trump goes to a fair. Okay. SH of Unity. Yeah, there we go. Okay. And then we go, Harry Reid, Trump, a fickle novel. Okay. And, let's see here. Megyn Kelly. This is really exciting broadcasting, isn't it? Okay, this is what I get for trying to push for time. Okay. All right, let's begin the program. Known as Haff in the Morning. 3, 2, 1. Coming upon this edition of Haff in the Morning. Hours after calling protest unfair, Trump posts message of unity. Harry Reid calls Trump a sexual predator. And Megyn Kelly takes issue with the New York Times over her new book. Details on these stories, plus a whole lot more, await you on this edition of Haff in the Morning.
100 a day. You have any idea how much that is?
No, that's insane.
That's insanity.
By the way, she was working.
Sorry.
She was working at a biscuit factory, so you better get it right.
Biscuit factory.
AKA cookie factory.
Okay.
A good Friday morning to you, my friends. Welcome to another edition of Haff in the Morning for Friday, November 11th, 2016. Yours truly, Joe Hafter, here at the controls and ready for takeoff on this Veterans Day. And before we get anywhere into the program, I want to encourage you, if you see a veteran today, thank him or her for their service. Because without their fight for our freedom, you and I would not be here now on so many levels. I wouldn't be able to express my opinion, whether they agree with what I have to say or not. And same for you. So please, if you see a veteran today, thank him or her for their service. It's their day, and we need to honor our veterans. Okay? Well, let's see. Before I get into the program, I encourage you to drop me an email at haffinthemorning@gmail.com. That's HAFFinthemorning@gmail.com. Also, be sure to check out my website, tinyurl.com/HafterMedia, tinyurl.com/HafterMedia, where you can find links to your customizable news page, weather page, sports page, and also find some of my favorite links, including links to Facebook. So be sure to check it out, tinyurl.com/HafterMedia, if you aren't there already. Well, it's a beautiful Friday morning, a little bit nippy, finally getting cold here. As a matter of fact, normally we have our first frost, hard freeze, roughly about mid to late October in this area, sometimes a little bit earlier. This year, it has been unquestionably and unseasonably warm. As a matter of fact, the grass is still growing. I mean, grass grows all year long, albeit slower in colder weather, but the grass is unbelievably green for this time of year. As a matter of fact, it never really got brown in August like it normally does because we've had such an unusual weather pattern. It didn't get to a hard freeze here last night, but it got pretty cold when I got off work. I think it was in the upper 30s when I got off work at 3 a.m., but it is still unbelievably warm out there, and looks like it will be for several more days. But let's not talk about the weather right now. Here's what you need to get you up to speed and out the door on this Friday. Well, yesterday, it wasn't so bad, was it? President-elect Donald Trump met with President Barack Obama at the White House, and it wasn't as awkward as we dreamed it would be, although there were a couple of pictures where you could tell these two, they were being cordial at best, but they don't like each other. Trump called Obama a very good man, though, and President Obama pledged to ensure a successful transition as we head into January 2017. It was a head-spinning display of civility between the two men who, just a few days ago, were openly mocking each other. Well, speaking of the Donald, protesters against the looming Trump presidency just aren't having it. They hit the streets again with demonstrations and vigils in several U.S. cities, including L.A., Philadelphia, as well as Denver and Baltimore. Things were even more heated in Portland, Oregon, where people smashed windows, set fires, and threw stuff at police, who called the whole thing a riot. Trump tweeted the protesters were, quote, very unfair, unquote. And other issues this morning, of course, is the Affordable Care Act, a.k.a. Obamacare. Donald Trump's election may have given Obamacare an unexpected boost, whether he likes it or not, because he's been threatening to dismantle the whole thing, assuming he got elected president. Enrollment surged for Obamacare the day after the election on Wednesday, with more than 100,000 selecting plans, the busiest day since enrollment began at the start of this month. President-elect Trump, well, it's going to take a while to get used to saying that, and the GOP Congress have pledged to repeal the Affordable Care Act, and we'll be going over how they plan to do that in the near future. Other issues today, Mosul, as coalition forces closing in on ISIS in Mosul, the terrorists are lashing out. ISIS has been executing civilians accused of being spies for Iraq's security forces and leaving their bodies at intersections. All of the victims have been male. They were shot in the head. Since the offensive started, more than 1,200 ISIS militants have been killed, and 10,000 families have been liberated. And finally, back to weather for a little bit. La Nina is back, and depending on where you live, it could wreck your winter. If you live in the Pacific Northwest, it's going to be wetter and colder this year. If you live in the Southeast, things are going to be drier and warmer. But that's the worst news possible because the region is suffering through a pretty bad drought already. As far as the breakfast rows today, people are talking about these, including the death of Leonard Cohen, the poetic and lyrical genius behind such as classics as Hallelujah, died at the age of 82 yesterday. California Dreamin', a Trump presidency is a no-go for a lot of Californians, so a movement for the state to secede from the United States is gaining steam once again. But Cal exit anyone? You know what? Texas threatened this back in 2012 and 2008 when Barack Obama got voted president. It's not going to happen, okay? First of all, if you're going to make a threat, follow through with it. Otherwise, shut the hell up, all right? I hate that. You know, and I don't like Trump being president, but he is our president. So maybe let's try to work with him here, all right? And I know I've spent the past 2.5 months of this program, 3 months of this program, as a matter of fact, doing everything I can to persuade you not to vote for him, but you voted for him anyway. Thank you, Electoral College. Anyway, California threatening to secede from the Union. How about rock monster? Workers using dynamite in China almost blew up the fossil of a previously unknown species of winged dinosaur while working at a construction site. God. Oh no, Fredzilla! You killed Fredzilla! That's a Whose Line Is It Anyway joke, okay? And are you fed up with the election results? Well, how about this political proposal? Want to move to Sweden? Well, a 6-foot-tall blonde man there will marry any American who will pay $50,000 on eBay. Sounds a little bit suspicious, but I'll check it out. And finally, don't blame the gorilla. He's a tempting target, but no, hombre didn't cost Hillary Clinton the election by nabbing more than 1,100 votes. That's a fake story. Now let them rest in peace. Apparently, there's a meme or a urban legend floating around that a gorilla stole the election from Hillary Clinton. I hadn't heard that until today, but all right. Whatever floats your hammer. And finally, kid versus garbage can. It's been an emotional week, to say the least, but no matter how you feel about the election, well, how about some cheap laughs supplied by this kid trying to take out the trash? And well, there's a video on that to be looking for on the internet. And those are some things you need to know as we start up this Friday together. All right, well, let's get into the news today. Hours after calling protest unfair, President-elect Trump posts message of unity. Boy, which one is he? Is he the kettle or is he black? I can't tell. You know, it's hard to see from here. Apparently, hours after calling a nationwide protest very unfair, President-elect Donald Trump sent a message of unity earlier this morning. As a matter of fact, love the fact that the small groups of protesters last night have passion for a great country. We will all come together and be proud. Posted that this morning at 5:14, whatever time zone he's in. I assume the Eastern time zone. Well, about 9 hours before that tweet, the Trump had called the demonstrations an act of professional protesters who have been incited by the media. Just had a very open and successful presidential election. Now professional protesters incited by the media are protesting very unfair. You remember back in 2008 when especially Obama detractors threw a hissy fit that President Obama was using a BlackBerry, which was an antiquated piece of technology even at that time. You know, the BlackBerry was losing popularity. Now they don't even make the damn things anymore, or on their way to phasing them out. So somebody please take away Donald Trump's Twitter. You're president of the United States in 2 months. You don't go around twittering everything, okay? Save this for your book in 4 or 8 years. I hope you don't get reelected. Please, God, don't reelect him. Oh, my God. I cannot stand this guy. Oh, I have respected every president in my lifetime, whether I have agreed with their philosophies and policies or not. But with Donald Trump, absolutely not. Oh, my God. Well, thousands have taken to the streets, including in Boston, since Wednesday, the day after Trump won the election. Last night, police in Portland, Oregon, detained several after demonstrations there became violent. So now the Donald is calling for everybody. Let's just calm down, have a little peaceful time here. I don't know who I'm doing. This is a horrible Trump impersonation. Bob Dylan. Getting stoned here. Well, meanwhile, Harry Reid has dismissed Donald Trump, as many Democrats and anti-Trump people have, including yours truly, calling him a sexual predator who lost the popular vote. Well, Harry Reid broke his silence earlier today on Donald Trump's victory, denouncing Trump as a sexual predator who lost the popular vote and emboldened the forces of hate and bigotry in America, and who is now solely responsible for healing the country's gaping political wounds. You know, calling Donald Trump in to bring unity to anything after a disaster is a bit like calling in the Grim Reaper to take care of the sick and wounded, isn't it? Well, in a fiery statement released just 3 days after the November 8th election, Harry Reid, who's retiring, holds Trump responsible for his comments on the campaign trail, Hispanics and African Americans in the United States, while other leading Democrats, including Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders and Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren, have said they are tentatively and warily prepared to work with Trump on certain issues. However, Reid has made no such promise. Good for him. Good for him. Meanwhile, there are others that are detracting as well. And this is part of the problem. On the one hand, I believe we need to put aside our rancor and animosity and try to work together. But at the same time, Donald Trump has spent the better part of the last 18 months denouncing every minority or group he does not like, in no small terms, including the press, Mexican Americans, Islamic Americans, Chinese Americans, gay and lesbians, transgender people. He has gone out of his way to demonize these groups, and now he's calling for unity. I say hell no, Mr. President-elect. You know, and I'm torn on this, because the peaceful side of me wants to say, okay, we'll put aside our differences. Let's work together. But you're making too many compromises on things that we have accomplished in the past 8 years. But I don't know. I don't know what the answer to this is. Megyn Kelly is taking issue with the New York Times on their review of her upcoming book, which is set for release on Tuesday. I ordered a copy. Looking forward to reading it one of these days. I mean, I've got so many books in my Kindle and Amazon. Oh, Kindle and Nook Reader. I probably won't catch up for several years, but that's fine. That's fine. I like having a lot of books here at my disposal. Well, the New York Times published a review of Fox News anchor Megyn Kelly's memoir, Settle for More, after obtaining an early copy of the book scheduled to be published on November 15th. Actually, it's already been published. It just won't be released until November 15th. Kelly disputes the Times' characterization of two sections of her book, one which implies that she said someone leaked Trump her first question in the first primary debate, and another that implies she thought she may have been poisoned the morning of the same debate. Kelly writes that Trump was livid the day before the first debate of the Republican primary campaign after he heard that Kelly's planned first question was a very pointed question directed at him. Well, this disconcerted her because it was true. It was about his history of using disparaging language about women. While she doesn't get into who might have leaked the question, the book gives the clear impression that former Fox News CEO Roger Ailes and others within the Fox network seem to be nakedly colluding with the Republican presidential nominee, according to the Times. Kelly went on Twitter late yesterday to shoot down the inference that the question was leaked. Kelly also wrote that on the day of the debate, what the Times describes as an overzealous, suspiciously enthusiastic driver drove her to the event and insisted on making her coffee. She writes that she drank it and then was violently ill within 15 minutes. Ms. Kelly never says outright that someone tried to poison her. A stomach bug was going around, she notes, but the episode spooked her enough that she shared it later with Roger Ailes and a lawyer friend of his. Foul play again, she reports, you decide. Again, Kelly took to Twitter to clarify her position. Also, for the record, I believe the reason I got sick the day of the debate was I contracted a stomach virus, just as Rand Paul did, she wrote at midnight Thursday. There is one passage of the Times report Kelly has not yet disputed. Before the debate, Kelly did a piece on her show, The Kelly File, about Trump that the businessman did not like. According to Kelly, Trump refused to make a scheduled appearance on her show unless she called him. And Trump followed through with his threat after the debate, repeatedly insulting her with terms such as bimbo and lightweight reporter. He also implied her question at the debate was somehow tied to menstruation. You can see there was blood coming out of her eyes, blood coming out of her whatever, he said in a CNN interview with Don Lemon. A report last week from Radar Online, which also says it obtained a copy of the book, detailed Kelly's allegations of sexual harassment against Ailes. So, lots of nefarious things going on there. And again, I look forward to reading Megyn Kelly's book, set for release on Tuesday. But here we are on a Friday morning, my friends, 21 minutes into this edition of Haff in the Morning. Thanks for downloading this episode as we are slowly making our way through this Friday. And what do you say we play some music here? But first, let's go ahead and play some music. Okay? So let me pull up the music library here, and we'll get some music going here. Okay, how about... if you watched last week's episode of The Walking Dead, you're going to know this song right off, okay? And my apologies if it's going to get stuck in your head, but nevertheless, it is a disturbing song considering the context. Otherwise, it would be seemingly innocuous. Here's the Collapsible Hearts Club Band, and the tune is called... okay, let me see here. Yep. The tune is called... I Don't Know. Okay, let me see. Pull this over here. Easy Street. There we go. My mind went blank. Anyway, here's Easy Street and the Collapsible Hearts Club Band on this edition of Haff in the Morning.
We're on Easy Street, and it feels so sweet, 'cause the world is but a treat when you're on Easy Street, and we're breaking out the good champagne. We're sitting pretty on the gravy train, and when we sing, every sweet refrain repeats right here on Easy Street. It's our moment in the sun, and it's only just begun. It's time to have a little fun. See why you should be on Easy Street. Yeah, we got a front row seat. Oh, to a life that can't be beat. Right here on Easy Street. Should be on Easy Street. Yeah, we got a front row seat. Oh, to a life that can't be beat. Right here on Easy Street. 'Cause the world is but a treat when you're on Easy Street. 'Cause the world is but a treat when you're on Easy Street.
You famously tangled with Donald Trump. I was just wondering what that was like for you.
It was bizarre. He was so very focused on me that I became the story, and you never want to be the story when you're a news person. You want to be covering the story. That's the problem with language like bimbo and so on. It's diminishing, obviously, to not just the woman who's being attacked, but to women in general.
Any regrets at all?
No, I still think it was a great question. I stand by every question I asked him, and he was not the only one who had tough questions. He was the only one, however, who complained.
Hi, friends. Do you have something on your mind but are too bashful to talk to me on a live show? Then email me at haffinthemorning@gmail.com. That's HAFF in the morning @gmail.com.
Nobody does it better.
really remember when you drank my wine. Why can't we be friends? 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 I seen you walking down in Chinatown. I called you, but you did not look around. Yeah, yeah. I pay my money through the welfare line. I seen you standing in it every time. Why can't we be friends? 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 The color of your skin don't matter to me. As long as we can live in harmony. Yeah, yeah. I kinda like to be the president. Then I could show you how your money's spent. Why can't we be friends? 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 Sometimes I don't speak right, but did I know what I was talking about? I know you're working for the CIA. They wouldn't have you in the mafia. Why can't we be friends? 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 Why can't we be friends?
There's Smash Mouth and their version of the rock classic Why Can't We Be Friends, I believe originally done by The Who, if I'm not mistaken. Welcome to this edition of Haff in the Morning on Veterans Day 2016. And, of course, earlier I was talking about President Obama visiting with Donald Trump yesterday as they make arrangements and talk about what Trump could be in store for as he becomes our next president of the United States. You just do one of those full body shivers thinking about the possibility. But anyway, President Obama did welcome the Donald to the White House yesterday, but a lot of people don't know this. The Secret Service wouldn't let him in until he showed him his birth certificate.
Been all around the world. Been all around the world. Been all around the world. Been all around the world.
I came for the party, to get naughty, get my rocks on, eat popcorn, watch you move your body to the pop song that I'm singing, ding-a-linging, funky beats ringing, everybody swinging in the place as I kick the J-A-Z-Z-Y style, R&B, mixing it with the hip-hop swing beat, champagne in my hand, it won't be long till I'm gone. It's just the same old song.
It's just a freestyle, meanwhile we keep the beat kicking, sweat dripping, girlies in the limo eating chicken, oops, don't get the grease on your pantyhose, I love you, Rover, move over, I gotta blow my nose, sneezing, but still I'm pleasing, all the slimmies, pull out my Jimmy, time to get busy with a Jenny, if it's getting plenty, don't you know, there I go, there I go, there I go, but I don't go nowhere without my gym hat, what I'm rapping is if she's stopping, then I'm strapping, cause I'm smarter than that, and then girlie, maybe we can get along, cutie after cutie, it's just the same old song. Same song. musician, sure enough.
Been all around the world. Been all around the world. Been all around the world.
Yo, we've been all around the world.
Been all around the world.
For the party, to get naughty, get my rocks on, eat popcorn, watch you move your body to the pop song that I'm singing, ding-a-linging, funky beats ringing, everybody swinging in the place as I kick the J-A-Z-Z-Y style, R&B, mixing it with the hip-hop, swing beat, champagne in my hand, it won't be long till I'm gone. It's just the same old song.
It's just the freestyle, meanwhile we keep the beat kicking. Sweat dripping, girlies in the limo eating chicken. Oops, don't get the grease on your pantyhose. I love you, Rover, move over, I gotta blow my nose. Sneezing, but still I'm pleasing all of Slimmies, pull out my Jimmy. Time to get busy with a Jenny. If it's good and plenty, don't you know? There I go, there I go, there I go. But I don't go nowhere without my gym hat. What I'm rapping is if she's stopping, then I'm strapping, cause I'm smarter than that. And then, girlie, maybe we can get along. Cutie after cutie, it's just the same old song. It's the same old song, y'all.
Same song.
It's just the same old song.
It's the same song. Money big, the freaky dicky, the squeaky wicky up and down. Well, as a matter of fact, I'll be right back, I gotta take a licky. So while I'm draining, entertaining, but I got fame, and the bases I touch, too much for me to try to be naming. Hey yo, he saw me on cable and grinning. I busted in and I was going to win. Like Clark Gable back in Oakland, it's the same old song. It's 40 shorty, same freckles and hat, drinking the same Ford.
Hypothetical, political, lyrical, miracle whip, just like butter. My rhymes are legit, cause I'm the Humpty, not Humpty Dumpty, but Humpty Hump. Here a hump, there a hump, everywhere I'm Humpty Hump.
Shut up and just listen, not dissing, don't get me wrong. But to me it's just the same old song, so just watch. Cause my name is Shock, I like to rock and you can't stop this. Tupac, go ahead and rock this.
Now I clown around when I hang around with the underground. Girls used to frown, say I'm down when I come around. Gas me, and when they pass me, they used to diss me, harass me. But now they ask me if they can kiss me. Get some fame, people change, wanna live their life high. Same song can't go wrong if I play the nice guy.
Claiming fame must have changed now that we became strong.
I remain still the same, cause it's the same song.
It's the same song.
Same old song, y'all. Check out, shout out. Shout out, stop. It's just the same old song. Yeah, Humpty Hump in the house, y'all. And you know what? It's the same old song. All around the world, same song.
This Ernest T. Bass is a strange and weird character.
Do you have something you would like to share with Joe? Then send him an email at haffinthemorning@gmail.com. That's haffinthemorning@gmail.com.
They're wacky, they're zany, wacky and zany. It's another wacky and zany show. the heat's on you, when the heat is on.
Glenn Fry, and the heat is on this edition of Haff in the Morning. Taking us back a little over 30 years for that great tune on this Friday morning, the 11th day of November, 2016. And here's something maybe our Congress should consider. You know, I'm a big fan and proponent of free speech, obviously. But at the same time, don't you get annoyed with internet memes, especially ones that turn out to be totally untrue and people still back them up anyway? Like Donald Trump is a nice guy. Well, the Spanish government is making their attempt to ban memes of their own. As a matter of fact, a plan by Spain's prime minister to ban the use of memes in the country met with an immediate and comical backlash on social media yesterday. Naturally, people created lots of memes featuring the image of the prime minister. The ban was put forth before Congress, and proposed restrictions placed on spreading images that infringe the honor of a person. Again, I got no problem with that. But then again, the internet would be a pretty boring place, wouldn't it, if we put such a restriction on such memes. Let me tell you about my Uncle John's band. Here's the Grateful Dead on Haff in the Morning.
Well, the first days are the hardest days, don't you worry anymore. 'Cause when life looks like easy street, there is danger at your door. Think this through with me. Let me know your mind. Whoa, what I want to know is, are you kind? It's a buck dancer's choice, my friends. Better take my advice. You know all the rules by now, and the fire from the ice. Will you come with me? Won't you come with me? Whoa, what I want to know. Will you come with me? Goddamn, will I declare, have you seen the light? Their walls are built of cannonballs. Their motto is don't tread on me. Come here, Uncle John's band, praying to the tide. Come with me or go alone. He's come to take his children home. Same story the crow told me, it's the only one you know. Like the morning sun you come, and like the wind you go. Ain't no time to hate, barely time to wait. Whoa, what I want to know, where does the time go? In a silver mine, and I call it Beggar's Tomb. I got me a violin, and I beg you call the tune. Anybody's choice, I can hear your voice. Whoa, what I want to know, how does the song go? John's band by the riverside. Got some things to talk about here beside the rising tide. Come hear Uncle John's band playing to the tide. Come on along or go alone. He's come to take his children home. Riverside. Got some things to talk about here beside the rising tide. Come hear Uncle John's band playing to the tide. Come on along and go alone. He's come to take his children home.
Hey, Earl. Hey, Crab Man. Hey, Crab Man. Hey, Earl.
Remember this golden classic. Playing the hits of yesteryear just for you.
Everybody work out. Suck this, suck this, suck this, suck this, suck this, suck this. Woo! Let it hang out, baby. Or do the Baltimore digger. Let it hang out, baby. Or boomerang with me. Suck this, suck this, suck this, suck this, suck this, suck this. Woo! I'll drink a bottle of turpentine. When you wake up in the morning, feeling kind of fine. Let it hang out, yes. Now, now, now.
Sookie. Steppenwolf on this edition of Haff in the Morning. Don't know why the levels on that song were so overmodulated, but Anyway, I guess we'll find a better copy of that at some point for the program. Well, coming up in a few minutes, speaking of the program known as Haff in the Morning, I'm Haff, by the way. We'll see. I'll have the CBS World News Roundup, but we'll take a brief look at what's going on in the news here in just a moment. Also, coming up in a little bit, of course, talking about internet censorship in over across the pond. But I'll have today's top 5 list for you in just a moment. Today's top 5 signs that you probably need to lay off Facebook for a while. That's coming up in just a moment. But in the meantime, just hold my hand. It's a simple, easy request. Here's Hootie and the Blowfish on Haff in the Morning. Good morning.
With a little love and some tenderness, we'll walk upon the water, we'll rise above the mist. With a little peace and some harmony, we'll take the world together, we'll take them by the hand. 'Cause I got a hand for you. Oh, I wanna run with you. Yesterday I saw you standing there, your head was down, your eyes were red, no comb I touched your hair. I said get up and let me see you smile. We'll take a walk together, walk the road a while. 'Cause I got a hand for you, I got a hand for you. I wanna run with you, won't you let me run with you? Hold my hand, want you to hold my hand. Hold my hand, I'll make you do a place where you can be anything you wanna be, because I wanna love you the best that I can. You see, I was wasted, and I was wasting time, till I thought about your problems, I thought about your crap, then I stood up, and then I screamed aloud. I don't wanna be part of your problems, don't wanna be part of your crowd, no. 'Cause I got a hand for you, I got a hand for you. I wanna run for you, won't you let me run with you? Hold my hand, want you to hold my hand. Hold my hand, I'll take you to the promised land. Hold my hand, maybe we can change the world, but I wanna love you the best that I can. Let me run, won't you let me want you to hold my hand. Hold my hand, I'll take you to a place where you wanna be. Anything you wanna be, because oh, no, 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 no. Hold my hand, want you to hold my hand. Hold my hand, I'll take you to a promised land. Maybe we can change the world, but I wanna love you the best that I can. Oh, best that I can.
Hootie and the Blowfish taking us back to about 1992 on this edition of Haff in the Morning. It's time for today's top 5. And today's top 5 list is the top 5 signs you probably need to lay off Facebook for a while. You know, my cousin Lainey says from time to time, I need to lay off Facebook. But then how would you know that if you're not on Facebook, huh? See, huh? Anyway, here we go. Number 5. You just wrote an angry 200-word response against someone saying, have a nice day. Number 4. You carry a collection of cardboard emoticons in your pocket for live conversations. Number 3. You keep requesting they expand the poke button to include slap and grope. Ooh. Number 2. You have your homepage on a monitor hanging over your bed. What's wrong with that? And the number 1 sign that you probably need to lay off Facebook for a while, when you went into your polling place earlier this week, you were looking for the like button. Anyway, those are the top 5 signs that you probably need to lay off Facebook for a while. Back into the tunes before the news. We're at the point of no return. Here's Kansas on Haff in the Morning.
Dead or alive, you are coming with me.
Guess who's coming to dinner?
Hey friends, do you have a special song in mind for that special someone in your life? Well, drop me an email at halfinthemorning@gmail.com and tell me all about it. Tell me why the song is significant and when you'd like to hear it. That's HAFF in the morning @gmail.com.
Time to get up, get out of bed, fill your cup and get ahead.
Have you heard about the lonesome loser, beaten by the queen of hearts every time? Have you heard about the lonesome loser? He's a loser, but he still keeps on trying.
watch him go, there's nothing left. Staked his heart and lost. Now he has to pay the cost. Have you heard about the lonesome loser? Beaten by the Queen of Hearts every time. Have you heard about the lonesome loser? He's a loser, but he still keeps on trying. It's okay, he smiles and says, though this loneliness is driving him crazy, he don't show what goes on in his head. But if you watch very close, you'll see it all. Sit down and take a look at yourself. Don't you want to be somebody? Someday somebody's gonna see inside. You have to face up. You can't run and hide. Have you heard about the lonesome loser? Beaten by the Queen of Hearts every time. Have you heard about the lonesome loser? He's a loser, but he still keeps on trying. Have you heard about the lonesome loser? Have you heard about the lonesome loser? Have you heard about the lonesome loser? Now tell me, have you
Straight out of Australia, it's the Low River Band and the Lonesome Loser on Haff in the Morning. And we'll have news for you in just a few minutes as we stroll through this Friday together. Well, our weekends are not restful and restorative, and that causes us to feel stressed and anxious on Saturday and Sunday about the start of the new work week. At least that's what some researchers are now suggesting. Specifically, 48% feel unproductive on Monday, while more than half spent the weekend worrying about work, according to a survey conducted by Westin Hotels and Resorts. You can blame it on our technology, laptop computers, smartphones, and tablets that allow us to stay connected to the office day and night, which has impacted our personal lives. So here are some interesting findings from the survey. 36% of workers say they feel tired on Monday. 52% believe that their health and well-being are negatively impacted by work due to lack of exercise, sleep, and relaxation. 50% say they spend up to 3 hours working on the weekend, including answering emails and telephone calls. 62% say their personal life has been negatively affected by work. 45% say work has had a negative impact on family relationships. And 28% say they have been in the middle of a romantically special moment, getting it on with the partner, when work interfered and ruined the moment. I think that's when the boss walked in and said, "What's going on in here?"
What's in the news?
So I want to thank my family very much. Really fantastic. Thank you all.
I'm Steve Kathan, CBS News. No question, Donald Trump's family is going to play a big role in Washington when he takes office.
They're definitely breaking the mold. Washington will see a family they've never seen the likes of before.
Writer Monica Langley of the Wall Street Journal.
Just as he is brash and very vocal, his wife Melania is the exact opposite. Melania will present herself as an elegant, more thoughtful woman.
Children and teenagers can be fragile.
She's already spoken out about cyberbullying. She'll have causes and 10-year-old son Barron to think about.
People really didn't understand that her priority is her son. So it's going to be interesting now that she is going to have to be a first lady, and her priority is going to have to become the country as well as her son.
My father is a fighter.
Daughter Ivanka Trump will be a powerful advisor. She's already shaped his thinking on federally funded maternity leave.
Daddy, We have to do this, and it's true. She's very smart, and she's right.
Trump also values the input of her husband, Jared Kushner. His sons Eric and Donald Jr. will run the family business.
The Trump family that we saw on the campaign trail is a really close one, and they helped put him in office. I think we'll continue to see a Trump family that helps support him as he runs the country.
Now this, what's in the news?
It's Pontiac's year-end blowout, and that's something special. Hot savings on these Pontiacs equipped with optional air conditioning. Pontiac's made it possible for us to pass along special savings of up to $675 on Sunbird or up to $775 on Fiero, Firebird, or Pontiac 6000. All equipped with air conditioning. You must take actual retail delivery from dealer stock by December 31st.
See your New England area Pontiac dealer now during Pontiac's year-end blowout.
This is the IBM Correcting Selectric Typewriter. The typewriter that also erases. As slow motion shows, it literally lifts mistakes off the page with the touch of a key. There's no opaquing, no hand erasing, no repositioning the paper. All of which makes it a little easier than ever to be perfect.
Thank you, sir.
What's in the news? I'm Steve Kathan, CBS News.
AP Showbiz Minute. Songwriter Leonard Cohen has died, aged 82. Cohen's management confirmed that he had passed away and that a memorial will take place in Los Angeles at a later date. No further details on the death were given. His Hallelujah became a cult hit when it was covered by musician Jeff Buckley in 1994 and has become a modern standard since. American show 60 Minutes has landed the first extensive interview with President-elect Donald Trump. CBS announced on Thursday that Leslie Stahl will interview Trump on Friday at his home in New York City about his election. Stahl will also speak to Trump's family, including incoming First Lady Melania, and children Ivanka, Tiffany, Eric, and Donald Jr. J.K. Rowling and Eddie Redmayne have premiered Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them in New York. The fantasy movie, set in the city in the 1920s, is the first instalment of a 5-movie franchise that prequels the Harry Potter series. The sequel will feature a young Dumbledore. This is Matt Kemp with AP Showbiz Minute.
Thank you very much, Matt Kemp, if that is indeed your real name. Coming up in just a moment on this edition of Haff in the Morning, I'll have for you the CBS World News Roundup, as well as Today in History, plus a whole lot more a little bit later on. We'll have the Dave Ross program come up in just a moment. In the meantime, of course, you heard that Donald Trump is going to be featured on this weekend's edition of 60 Minutes on Sunday. The historical significance of President Donald Trump, though, goes a little bit like this. You know, people have been talking about the historical significance of our recent presidential election. For most, they were referring to the first woman nominated by a major party and the possibility of America's first woman president. Doesn't look like it's going to happen now. But historians, cheer up, okay? There is actually plenty of historical significance in this election of Donald J. Trump. Now, this is not me defending the Donald. This is just historical fact here that I'm about to present to you. Down in Texas, our friends at the Houston Chronicle, excuse me, compiled, boy, I'm getting all choked up here, compiled a list of President Donald Trump's first historical first, and here are a few of them. Donald J. Trump is the first billionaire president. First billionaire president. He is the first president who's also a member of the WWE Hall of Fame. Boy, there's a feather in your cap. He's the first president to have starred in a Pizza Hut commercial. He's also the first president to have appeared on the cover of Playboy. Remember back when President Carter was interviewed by Playboy magazine and he said he never even looked at the magazine? Boy, how far we've come, huh? Or further back we've gone. Donald Trump will be the first president with his own line of vodka. And let's see, not now. I'm awake. I don't know why you're waking me up. Anyway, he'll be the first president with his own line of vodka. He'll also be the first president to have owned a football team. He'll be the first president who personally fired Jose Canseco, Gene Simmons, LaToya Jackson, and Lil Jon. And as a bonus, he's only the second president to have a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Of course, Ronald Reagan was the first.
My morning commentary is brought to you by the good people at Washington Federal. My wife and I choose to bank with Washington Federal for a few reasons. They're responsible with my money, which is always a good thing for a bank. They actually like face-to-face interaction, and they believe a bank should be the foundation of a healthy community. Washington Federal, invested here. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. 3 days since the election, no sign of the old Donald Trump. He spent close to an hour and a half in his first meeting with the president, and afterwards...
Mr. President, it was a great honor being with you, and I look forward to being with you many, many more times in the future. Thank you, sir.
Completely respectful, almost in awe. And yet around the country, demonstrators were having trouble shaking off the images of the old Donald Trump. So was Senator Elizabeth Warren, the woman he nicknamed Pocahontas.
When his goal is to increase the economic security of middle-class families, then count me in.
But...
rebuilding our economy does not mean crippling our economy by rounding up and deporting millions of our co-workers and our neighbors.
The old Trump did say plenty of scary things about rounding up people and even locking up his opponent, but would he really want to behave that way as president? Obviously, he's an intense competitor. But even the angry football coach, who spends the whole game yelling at the referees, has a big smile on his face when he wins, right? But Dave, you say there's absolutely nothing to prevent him from going back to his old self. Well, we still have the constitutional checks and balances, but I also think that in Trump's case, there's an additional check and balance. I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that hidden somewhere are probably more compromising recordings of Donald Trump than of any president since Nixon, which means he'll want to become as beloved as possible as soon as possible before any of that comes out.
The Osgood File. This is Charles Osgood. The President of the United States met with his successor at the White House yesterday.
Well, I just had the opportunity to have an excellent conversation with President-elect Trump. It was wide-ranging.
We discussed a lot of different situations, some wonderful and some difficulties.
President Obama talked about the transition ahead as he and his successor sat in front of the cameras in the Oval Office.
I have been very encouraged by the, I think, interest in President-elect Trump's wanting to work with my team.
And he said to Mr. Trump,
we now are going to want to do everything we can to help you succeed, because if you succeed, then the country succeeds.
The President-elect thanked Mr. Obama, and he said,
this was a meeting that was going to last for maybe 10 or 15 minutes, and we were just going to get to know each other. We had never met each other.
The two men have been at odds for years, but that was then. This is now.
I have great respect. The meeting lasted for almost an hour and a half, and it could have, as far as I'm concerned, it could have gone on for a lot longer.
And he said,
I very much look forward to dealing with the president in the future, including counsel.
They will have plenty to talk about all the way to Inauguration Day.
Mr. President, it was a great honor being with you, and I look forward to being with you many, many more times in the future. Thank you, sir.
More on our next Osgood File. This is Charles Osgood on the CBS Radio Network.
Anti-Trump protest turns violent.
There is a lot of damage this morning.
GOP plots life after Obamacare.
Alternative ways of getting a better bang for your buck.
Remembering Leonard Cohen.
Hallelujah.
Good morning. I'm Steve Kathan with the CBS World News Roundup. President-elect Donald Trump calls protests against him unfair. They've been held in several cities, and last night one in Portland, Oregon got out of hand.
This is an unlawful gathering.
Police moved in after dumpster fires were set and windows were smashed. Police fired flashbangs and pepper spray, arresting 26 people. KOIN TV's Brent Weisberg.
Officers declaring the demonstration a riot after several people began vandalizing cars and businesses in the city's Pearl District. Some protesters launched fireworks and other projectiles at police.
I threw a trash can at them because I'm angry.
There were reports of attacks on drivers. What started out as a peaceful protest descended into chaos.
We are here for love. We are not here to spread hate.
President-elect Trump tweeted professional protesters incited by the media very unfair, then later said, love the fact that small groups might have a passion for our great country. We will all come together and be proud. Other incidents around the country are in the glare of the post-election spotlight. Here's CBS's Steve Futterman.
It is not happening everywhere, but we are seeing ugly scenes of anger, sometimes with racial overtones. In Chicago, a man was attacked by a crowd chanting, "Don't vote Trump."
Don't vote Trump!
In Minneapolis, this black woman received an ugly note.
All you go back to Africa. You know, now the white people are going to take over.
This woman at San Jose State in California was wearing an Islamic headscarf when she was attacked.
I personally believe it was an attack based on race and religion.
Law enforcement agencies say they are conducting investigations.
Well, now to Washington, where the president-elect met yesterday with President Obama and House Speaker Ryan. CBS's Nancy Cordes has more on the emerging Republican agenda.
Trump said the two will find common ground on tax cuts, immigration, and jobs. But Ryan may balk at Mr. Trump's $5.3 trillion tax plan and his proposals to stop Muslim immigration and build a Mexico border wall. One thing they do agree on, dismantling Obamacare. But they'll have to figure out what to do about the 20 million people who have gotten insurance through the Affordable Care Act.
Congressional Republicans, as well as the Trump administration, will pursue some sort of transition period.
Former GOP Senate aide Christopher Condoleezza says Republicans may find it easier to reform the Affordable Care Act than scrap it altogether.
I'm Gary Nunn. Within hours after Donald Trump was elected, more than 100,000 people signed up for coverage under the Affordable Care Act, the most of any day since open enrollment began the 1st of November. White House spokesman Josh Earnest says people seeking coverage are encouraged to sign up while it's still possible, because increased enrollment helps keep premiums low.
During the campaign, Donald Trump vowed to tear up bad trade deals if he was elected. Now the European Union's top trade official has put talks on the planned transatlantic trade deal on hold. Leonard Cohen, who said he got into music because he couldn't make a living as a poet, has died at 82. CBS's Anthony Mason says over 5 decades he wrote and sang about love, faith, and despair.
I've heard there was a secret chord that David played and it pleased the Lord.
One of the most influential songwriters of his generation, Leonard Cohen is best known for a ballad that became an anthem. Critic Alan Light says it's a song you almost didn't get to hear.
Hallelujah was a song that really tormented him. He talks about being in a hotel room in New York City, banging his head on the floor because he couldn't figure out where the song was. He wrote 75 or 80 verses for it.
Your faith was strong, but you needed proof.
Since Hallelujah's release in 1984, more than 300 cover versions have been recorded.
While Suzanne holds the mirror.
His song Suzanne became a hit for Judy Collins.
I always wanted to be paid for my work, but I didn't want to work for pay.
Poetry is just the evidence of life, Leonard Cohen said. If your life is burning well, poetry is just the ash. Anthony Mason, CBS News, New York.
Well, thousands of firefighters from around the country are streaming into the southeast to help get a handle on wildfires.
Historically dry conditions are fueling dozens of wildfires across parts of the south and southeast. Victoria Tolitson with the North Carolina Forestry Service says crews are working to save dozens of homes near Lake Lure, southeast of Asheville.
We have a lot of wind coming in. We're trying to work to maintain the lines that we've already established.
Hundreds of people have been evacuated as the wildfires burn across the North Carolina mountains. Jim Crisula, CBS News, Greensboro, North Carolina.
A government report out just yesterday says more than 41 million people in 15 southern states are living in drought conditions. A student at Rowan University in New Jersey has been hospitalized after his cell phone charger burst into flames. The school says the student has a leg burn. Officials aren't sure of the make or model of the charger. Ceremonies around the country will mark Veterans Day today. A new survey says 37% of employers plan to actively look to hire veterans in the months ahead, and half of 2,500 personnel people say they've hired a vet in the past year. Career Builders' Michael Irwin.
Veterans are finding jobs. Unfortunately, all they're finding is a job and not a career. So we need to work to make sure that we reskill them and make sure that they have career paths so they're just not working, but they're working towards something that's going to support them and their family.
China's version of Cyber Monday took place today, and it was the world's busiest day for e-commerce. It's called Singles Day, and the huge Alibaba Group says its sales alone topped $12 billion in the first 12 hours. The National Football League may call an audible as it looks into why fans seem to be tuning out.
Amid a TV ratings slide, NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell says the league is considering a number of things to bring fans back, including shortening game broadcasts and fewer commercials to keep the action moving. Ratings are down by double digits so far this season, but Goodell says over the past decade they're still up by about 27%. He believes this year's decline is cyclical. Fan surveys suggest otherwise, with player protests during the national anthem the most mentioned reason that people aren't tuning in. Jim Chenevey, CBS News.
It might not draw a TV audience, but the World Chess Championship is getting underway today in New York. The defending champ is 25-year-old Magnus Carlsen of Norway, a competitor who's been named one of the world's sexiest men. And that's the World News Roundup, produced by Paul Ferry. I'm Steve Kathan, CBS News.
And this is yours truly, Joe Hafner here, host of Haff In The Morning. Now coming upon 20 minutes into today's program. On this Veterans Day 2016, and I'll have a tribute to veterans coming up a little bit later on in the program. Right now, though, I have market news for you from NPR. Speaking of which, thanks in part to the election of Donald J. Trump, this probably is a good time to be in the wall-building business. Shares in Israeli firm Magal Security System, which helped build the wall around Gaza and many other barriers around the world, jumped around 6% Wednesday in the wake of the U.S. election. As you know, Trump has promised to build a wall along the border with Mexico and make Mexico pay for it, though Mexico says the latter part of that promise isn't going to happen. As early as August this year, Magal chief Sar Kaush made it clear that he was hoping to get the Trump contract. He said the border business was down, but then came ISIS and the Syrian conflict. The world's changing and borders are coming back big time. Prison stocks were another big winner this week, with Corrections Corp of America up 43%, possibly because investors believe Trump will scrap Obama's plan to phase out private federal prisons. Gun shares, however, were down, which analysts say was because Trump isn't expected to tighten gun control laws, meaning nobody's in a big hurry to stock up on firearms.
This Marketplace podcast is brought to you by Investors.com. See which stocks are moving today at Investors.com. You'll get proprietary stock lists, ratings, and tools to make smarter investing decisions. Get a free 4-week trial at Investors.com/marketplace.
Voters who were anxious about money. From Marketplace in New York, I'm David Brancaccio. Let's start by exploring some of the economic tension that was a major force in the election outcome. The Marketplace Economic Anxiety Index is a survey we've been doing this election year, and the data just before the vote showed 2/3 of Americans are anxious about the economy and their own prosperity. Marketplace's Kimberly Adams has more from Washington on how one group of voters channeled this.
Donald Trump did better with white voters than Hillary Clinton did. Regardless of income, education, the gap was particularly wide when it came to white people without a college degree. Princeton economist Cecilia Rouse says that's because this group, especially the men, are often some of the most anxious about the economy.
And they're saying a lot of that is globalization and increasing technology, and we're being left behind, and we need somebody to really listen and do something about it.
That somebody was Donald Trump. He built his entire campaign on the frustrations of white blue-collar workers.
I remember when Trump started his campaign to run for president, the movie Network with Peter Finch came to my mind.
This is William Rogers, an economist at Rutgers.
That I was waiting for him to say to people, I want you to go to your windows, as they did in that movie, and say,
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!
In the past, says Williams, those frustrated people shouting from the windows would have been women or African Americans or Latinos. But because of the way the economy has changed, now it's white people yelling they're not going to take it anymore.
People feel that he's taking on the bully. Who's the bully? The bully is the economy, the macroeconomy, immigration, trade.
And those bullies are taking away jobs, according to Trump and his supporters. That's triggered even more economic anxiety for white voters who depended on those opportunities. Carol Graham is a senior fellow at the Brookings Institution.
At this point, blue-collar jobs, manufacturing jobs are harder to get, and there's more competition, and particularly in the Rust Belt, exactly where Trump's support was strongest.
That's where Trump's supporters are now expecting him to bring those promised jobs. But with the economy the way it is now, it's going to be tough. In Washington, I'm Kimberly Adams for Marketplace.
Let's check the live markets here. The FTSE in London is down 1.1%. The DAX in Germany, though, is up 0.2%. In CAC in Paris, the CAC 40 is down 0.9%. Stock index futures in the U.S. are down. The Dow future down 65 points, 0.4%. NASDAQ down 1.1%. The 10-year Treasury yield is at 2.14% this morning. And in the U.S. today, we honor Veterans Day. In China, it is Singles Day. Just look at the date, a series of ones. The 11th day of the 11th month is 1111. In China, it was a day to advertise being single, but the e-commerce giant Alibaba hijacked the holiday, and now it's a day for sale prices and frenzied shopping. President-elect Trump believes what he calls free market reforms will help fix health care in America. That could mean giving hospitals, insurers, and drug companies a freer hand to merge, as many are already inclined to do. But this could mean less competition. From our health desk at WHYY in Philadelphia, Marketplace's Dan Gorenstein reports.
Prices in healthcare continue to climb, and one reason is company mergers that eliminate essential competition. Harvard Business School economist Limor Daphne says here's how President-elect Trump could show he's serious about the issue.
A new administration could beef up antitrust enforcement agency budgets, deliver tough talk on proposed mergers, and hold challenging congressional hearings on large deals.
The Obama administration has been aggressive blocking deals, including mergers like the one between Aetna and Humana. But that's potentially the kind of government interference that Trump opposes. Lanhee Chen at the Hoover Institute at Stanford says Trump faces a kind of free market dilemma.
I think as a general rule, the idea will be to give businesses the freedom to do what they need to do while recognizing at the same time that preserving a competitive marketplace will be important.
The unanswered question, says Chen, is where a Trump administration strikes that balance. I'm Dan Gorenstein for Marketplace.
In India, a sudden cash crunch. Without warning this week, the Indian government banned money. That is, currency bills and some popular denominations have to be swapped in an effort to stick it to people and businesses hiding money under the table. Joining us from outside an apparently empty ATM machine in Calcutta is the BBC's Rahul Tandon.
I'm at a cash machine. It's about the 15th one I visited in the last hour, and it has no money in it, so I've no money in my wallet, like millions of other people in India. Difficult days.
So, out of nowhere, bolt from the blue, the Indian government takes away some of these bills. We're talking about really big bills, like the equivalent of $100 or $500?
No, much smaller than that. The 500 rupee note and the 1,000 rupee note, the two largest currency notes that you could have got in India, that's about the $10, $11 for the 500, and double that, obviously, for the 1,000 rupee note. The idea was to clamp down on the black economy. It's got a lot of support, but some people are losing patience now because the new notes, well, they haven't turned up in the cash machines I'm in front of, or the banks either.
Okay, so you'll eventually get those notes back, but somehow new and improved?
The idea is that people who have been hoarding cash, not paying tax on it, well, they have two choices. They come to banks, put it in there, and then have to pay tax and fines on it, or that currency is now worthless because you can't spend it anywhere. For those who have legitimate money, they're supposed to be, the new notes in banks like the one I'm stood outside, and you can exchange it. But look, this bank was supposed to be open till 6. It's shut already because they ran out of cash about 3 or 4 hours ago.
The BBC's Rahul Tandon in Calcutta. Thank you.
Thank you, David.
And in New York, I'm David Brancaccio with the Marketplace Morning Report. from APM, American Public Media.
And we'll have Marketplace Tech News for you in just a little bit. You know, Cleveland Indian fans won't be getting any merchandise celebrating an Indians World Series win because, well, your team didn't win. I'm sorry, the Chicago Cubs won. Well, that sounds weird to say. And neither will people in need around the world. Winning championship products are usually produced for both sides so they can be immediately sold to celebrating fans because, you know, Americans want it and they want it right now. So for the last 10 years, the losing side's championship T-shirts, hats, etc., were donated by donated to the charity World Vision, which helps the needy in developing countries. However, in 2016, this year, the MLB has decided to destroy the stuff, saying the reason is to protect the team from inaccurate merchandise being available or visible in the general marketplace. Well, a World Vision spokesman says the charity wasn't notified of the decision, but they don't have a problem with it as long as it had nothing to do with leakage of product by our organization in the past, because he's unaware of any MLB gear donated to World Vision making it back to North America.
This Marketplace podcast is brought to you by Wix. A great business needs a stunning website, and with Wix.com, you can do it all by yourself. Add your images, videos, text, and social media. It's easy to look stunning online. Go to Wix.com now. It's easy and free. That's Wix.com. And by Lenovo. Lenovo's next-generation data centers are built for cloud computing. They let you expand and contract server space on demand without adding more hardware. Lenovo servers are #1 in reliability and performance. Learn more about how Lenovo is transforming the data center at www.lenovo.com/datacenter.
It's Marketplace Tech for Friday, November 11th. I'm Molly Wood, filling in for Ben Johnson. There has been much wailing and gnashing of teeth in Silicon Valley over the election of Donald Trump. The tech industry almost universally supported Hillary Clinton, and they're not sure what's going to happen now. In fact, Trump's plan for his first 100 days in office says next to nothing about technology. But the science and tech think tank, the Information Technology and Innovation Foundation, has tried to cobble together a skeleton of what Trump's policies might look like. Rob Atkinson is president of ITIF. He joins me now. Rob, one thing Donald Trump has promised is to reduce the corporate tax rate from somewhere around 39% to maybe as low as 15%. Could that encourage more tech companies to base themselves in the U.S.?
So absolutely, he may not get it down to 15 with Congress, but the goal is to get it down. It's the highest in the developed world today. And one last component there that people haven't really paid attention to is he has a very innovative idea, which was to allow companies to expense equipment. So if you buy a new computer and you're a company or big servers, you could write it off in the first year for tax purposes, and that would spur more investment and bringing work back to the U.S.
I know that another big issue for tech companies is access to talent. A lot of them use H-1B visas to bring talent from overseas to the U.S. And Donald Trump seems like has gone a little bit back and forth on this.
The way to make sense of that is to say that he has concerns about the particular way that the H-1B visa process works. He has indicated that he wants to restrict that. At the same time, he has also said that he doesn't believe that there is a high-tech worker shortage in the U.S.
Is there any kind of a corresponding support for STEM education to sort of bring up our workforce?
I think one of the things that people have missed is this is the first time you've had Republicans control all three chambers, or all three, House, Senate, and presidency, since I believe the 1920s. This is going to be a fiscally conservative 4 years. There could be some reforms. For example, very few high schools in the U.S. teach computer science.
Is there something in particular that you would have liked to see or would like to see a position on sooner than later?
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen a position generally on how is this administration going to be thinking about the fact that every industry now is a digital industry. One early indication of that is going to be the Trump infrastructure initiative. Seems to be that's going to happen. I mean, it's good it's going to happen. Question is he going to have world-class infrastructure, which he says he wants? It's smart bridges, it's smart highways. That's really the question I have about the Trump administration. Are they going to really understand that digital is all industries right now, not just something out in Silicon Valley?
That's Rob Atkinson from the Information Technology and Innovation Foundation. Thanks so much for talking with me.
Thank you.
It's Silicon Tally time. My guest today is Raghu Manavalan, a multimedia producer here at Marketplace, and he's been on our elections desk and joins me now. Hey, Raghu, are you ready to play the game where we try to guess the numbers from this week's news?
I am so ready. Let's go.
All right, here is my number to you. The hint is it's $3,000 to $5,000. It's a range. I'm cheating a little, but $3,000 to $5,000.
The average amount of money the presidential candidates spent on each voter in advertising.
No, this is how much money, according to a BuzzFeed investigation, teenagers in Macedonia are able to make, some of them, by planting fake stories about either Trump or Clinton, in most cases Trump, and then injecting them into the news feed on Facebook and generating ad revenue.
That is absurd. So basically they come up with a fake story, they post it, they all upvote it and share it, and we just pretend it's news. That's great.
Yeah, but at least those teenagers are getting paid.
Yeah, that'll be a nice little stimulus package, I hope.
What is your next number?
$130.
Let me think. The amount of money that I spent stocking up for my election night party?
No, you spent triple that. I checked your Mint account. Awkward. It's actually the price of Snapchat's spectacles. They're kind of like a Google Glass competitor. It's these sunglasses that are like always rolling, and if you want to save anything to your roll, you basically are saving the last 7 seconds of your life.
Yeah, I'm all over this.
Are you a Snap fan? I mean, I'm kind of getting into it. But here's the thing. For now, you can only get the spectacles from these little yellow vending machines called Snapbots. They kind of look like minions. They pop up for one day in every city. If you don't get them after 24 hours, it's gone forever. The whole Snapchat ephemerality thing.
I have to say, I feel like Snap could turn out to be, and now that they're called Snap and not Snapchat, whatever, that company could turn out to be the diabolical genius of our generation.
I could totally see it. I mean, they made Google Glass cool, right? Now they're making vending machines cool. I mean, next is going to be like a fanny pack of world domination. I'm not quite sure anymore what's going to happen.
That's a game changer. All right, I'm gonna go back to the only slightly serious. My number for you is 1 telegram.
1 telegram? I have no idea. You got to just tell me.
1 telegram is the number of actual telegrams, like not the secure messaging app, that were sent by Russian President Vladimir Putin to President-elect Donald Trump to congratulate him on winning the election. The message expressed a desire to de-escalate tensions between Russia and the U.S., and apparently is a tradition for Putin. He's totes old school.
I love it.
He sends telegrams.
He's the only person left sending telegrams. That's kind of poetic. I like that.
Raghu Manavalan is a multimedia producer for Marketplace. Thanks so much, Raghu.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
And before we go, it has been a tumultuous week. You might want to kick back and see a movie this weekend. Ang Lee's new movie, it's called Billy Lynn's Long Halftime Walk, is out in limited release.
So here you are, Billy. For the first time in my life.
It is a high-tech cinematic experiment. It's the first movie shot in 120 frames per second and super high-resolution 3D. Most movies are more like 24 frames per second. So this intense war movie looks hyper-real. Unfortunately, it's so real that some critics are calling it distracting and even unwatchable. So if you prefer escapism to hyper-reality this weekend, I hear Arrival is amazing. I'm Molly Wood, and that's Marketplace Tech. This is APM.
It's time for a humorous look at today in history on this edition of Haff in the Morning for the 11th day of November, 2016. On this date in 1620, 41 pilgrims aboard the Mayflower, anchored just off of Massachusetts, signed a compact calling for just and equal laws. Well, except for women, slaves, and those foreigners using their land. Too bad it never made it to shore. Of course, the fine print said, for us, not for them. As part of the Occupy, the New World protest. In the state in 1889, Washington became a state. Its nickname is the Evergreen State because, frankly, moss and mold are green. State leaders thought, what the heck? We're already getting the Veterans Day off anyway. On this date in 1918, it is the 11th month, the 11th hour, the 11th day. World War I officially came to an end. Once again, it didn't live up to its promises. Thus, Veterans Day. And it gave everyone who was pretty sick of one everyone was pretty sick of ones for a while after that. It gave the soldiers time to rest up for World War II. I'm going to hell for that one. In 1921, President Harding dedicated the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. He said it was perfect for him because he was always bad with names anyway. On this date in 1997, Eastman Kodak announced it was cutting 10,000 jobs because of fierce competition from Japan's Fuji Photo Film Company. Boy, try to say that 3 times fast. Japan's Fuji Photo Film Company. You know, yes, it was that recent in history that we had film wars. And finally, on this date in 2001, Osama bin Laden was quoted as saying he would never allow himself to be captured. I only have 2 words. Neener, neener. Anyway, there's a humorous look at Today in History. And now with more Today in History, let's switch it over to the AP.
November 11th, 1918. In Europe, World War I comes to an end after 4 years of fighting as the Allies in Germany sign an armistice. But peace does not last as a Second World War engulfs that continent as well as Asia some 2 decades later. 1620. Pilgrims aboard the Mayflower, anchored off Massachusetts, sign a compact calling for a body politic. That document becomes the foundation for the Pilgrims' government after they land in Plymouth. 2004. Yasser Arafat, the longtime Palestinian leader, dies at a Paris military hospital at age 75. 1922. Kurt Vonnegut Jr., who wrote Slaughterhouse-Five and Cat's Cradle, is born in Indianapolis. And 1974.
I'm the king of the world!
Actor Leonardo DiCaprio, star of movies including Titanic and Gangs of New York, is born in Los Angeles. Today in History, November 11th. Tim McGuire, The Associated Press.
AP Showbiz Minute. Songwriter Leonard Cohen has died, aged 82. Cohen's management confirmed that he had passed away and that a memorial will take place in Los Angeles at a later date. No further details on the death were given. His Hallelujah became a cult hit when it was covered by musician Jeff Buckley in 1994 and has become a modern standard since. American show 60 Minutes has landed the first extensive interview with President-elect Donald Trump. CBS announced on Thursday that Leslie Stahl will interview Trump on Friday at his home in New York City about his election. Stahl will also speak to Trump's family, including incoming First Lady Melania, and children Ivanka, Tiffany, Eric, and Donald Jr. J.K. Rowling and Eddie Redmayne have premiered Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them in New York. The fantasy movie, set in the city in the 1920s, is the first instalment of a 5-movie franchise that prequels the Harry Potter series. The sequel will feature a young Dumbledore. This is Matt Kemp with AP Showbiz Minute.
The Writer's Almanac is supported by the Poetry Foundation, publisher of Poetry Magazine, a monthly devoted to discovering and publishing new voices in poetry. More at poetryfoundation.org.
And here is the Writer's Almanac for Friday. It's the 11th of November, 2016. It's Veterans Day, honoring Americans who served their country in the armed forces, originally called Armistice Day because it was on the 11th of November 1918 that the First World War came to an end. It was on this date in 1921 that President Harding dedicated the Tomb of the Unknowns in Arlington Cemetery in Washington. 4 unknown soldiers who had died in the First World War had been exhumed from 4 different American cemeteries in France, and then one was chosen at random and brought to Washington to lie in state in the Capitol Rotunda and be laid to rest on Armistice Day, 1921, his casket resting on a 2-inch layer of French soil. It's the birthday of Kurt Vonnegut, born Indianapolis, 1922, went off to Cornell, did not do well in college. He dropped out, enlisted in the Army during World War II, was captured by the Germans during the Battle of the Bulge, put to work in Dresden in a factory making malt syrup for pregnant women. He was locked up in a prison camp south of Dresden, and during the famous bombing of Dresden by Allied air forces, Vonnegut hid in a meat locker in a slaughterhouse, which saved his life, and then, many years later, influenced the plot of his novel Slaughterhouse-Five, which came out in 1969. More than 135,000 people died in the bombing of Dresden. Kurt Vonnegut, who wrote many other novels, including Player Piano, Cat's Cradle, God Bless You, Mr. Rosewater, Breakfast of Champions, and Timequake. It's the birthday of the writer Mary Gateskill, born Lexington, Kentucky, 1954, whose novels explore somewhat taboo subjects, sex work and sadomasochism, books like Two Girls, Fat and Thin, and her short story collection, Bad Behavior. She worked as a stripper and a call girl while she was writing the stories that went into that collection, which was such a bestseller, Bad Behavior, that she was able to pay off her student loans and quit her day job. And it was 90 years ago today, 1926, that the numbered highway system was established in the United States. Highways, roads, dirt roads, gravel, paved, whatever they were thought of as local, and they had local names. But in 1926, the federal government introduced a standardized numbering and signage system. Here's a poem for today by Naomi Shihab Nye. What is supposed to happen? When you were small, we watched you sleeping, waves of breath filling your chest. Sometimes we hid behind the wall of baby, soft cradle of baby needs. I loved carrying you between my own body and the world. Now you are sharpening pencils, entering the forest of lunchboxes, little desks. People I never saw before call out your name, and you wave. This loss I feel, this shrinking, as your field of roses grows and grows. Now I understand history. Now I understand my mother's ancient eyes. What is supposed to happen? Poem by Naomi Shihab Nye from Red Suitcase, published by Boa Editions Limited and used by permission here on the Writer's Almanac. Supported by the Poetry Foundation, publisher of Poetry Magazine, committed to discovering great poets and printing their verse. Back issues and subscriptions available at poetrymagazine.org. Be well, do good work, and keep in touch.
This is the Composer's Datebook for November 11th. I'm John Zek. At 11 a.m. on today's date in 1918, the Allied powers signed a ceasefire agreement with Germany in a railway carriage in the forest of Compiègne in France, bringing to an end the enormous physical and emotional devastation of the First World War. And if you're looking for a precise point at which the world of the 19th century really and truly ended, this might be as good a one as any. The post-1918 world was a traumatized new age, disillusioned with a tarnished past. And in the arts, figures like Igor Stravinsky and Pablo Picasso emerged offering new ways of looking and listening. At the exact hour the armistice was being signed in France, Stravinsky was in Switzerland, putting the finishing touches to a chamber orchestra piece he titled Ragtime. This music was inspired by American jazz, and just as the minuet seemed appropriate for the 18th century and the waltz for the 19th, Stravinsky seemed to be saying a jazz dance might be just the thing for the 20th. Looking back at that moment, Stravinsky wrote, "Jazz meant, in any case, a wholly new sound in my music, and marks my final break with the Russian orchestral school in which I had been fostered." It's lean, brash, and sharp-edged modern music, and when Stravinsky's Ragtime was published in 1919, it featured a lean, brash, and sharp-edged modern cover drawing for the score by Stravinsky's good friend and occasional collaborator, Pablo Picasso. Composer's Datebook is supported by T. Rowe Price. The markets may be uncertain, but institutions, advisors, and individuals choose T. Rowe Price's disciplined investment approach to help reach their long-term investment goals. T. Rowe Price. Invest with confidence. Composer's Datebook is produced by APM, American Public Media, in conjunction with the American Composers Forum, reminding you that all music was once new.
You're listening to Haff in the Morning on this Veterans Day broadcast, 2016. And coming up in just a little bit, I'll have some patriotic music to play for you to honor all the branches of our military with some various tunes, such as from John Philip Sousa and a whole lot more. I have about 18 minutes of said music for you as we roll through today. Well, today is the day Americans honor all living military veterans, including the many working moms who are veterans of military service. Indeed, the 1.8 million female veterans are more likely to work full-time than their civilian counterparts. And here are some other Veterans Day facts that you might not be aware of. For example, Veterans Day is always observed on November 11th with speeches and parades across the country. The holiday began as Armistice Day on November 11th, 1919, the first anniversary of the end of World War I. In 1926, Congress passed a resolution for the annual observance. 12 years later, in 1938, November 11th became a national holiday. In 1954, President Dwight Eisenhower signed legislation changing the name to Veterans Day in order to honor veterans of all American wars. There were 23.2 million military veterans in the United States in 2008. Of those, 1.8 million were female, 2.3 million were black, 9.2 million were 65 and older, and 1.9 million were younger than 35 years of age. A third of all living veterans served during the Vietnam War. In 2008, there were 7.8 million Vietnam veterans. From 1964 to 1975, 5.2 million is the Vietnam War. 5.2 million Gulf War veterans. Of those, 16% were women. That's from August 1990 to present. There were 2.6 million World War II veterans from 1941 to 1945, of course. 2.8 million veterans of the Korean War, which ran from 1950 to 1953. And 50,000 veterans of both the Vietnam War and Gulf War eras. 15.8 million veterans voted in the 2008 presidential election. That's 71% of all veterans, compared with 63% of non-veterans. And those are some statistics and facts about Veterans Day. And now, as promised, here's some patriotic music to honor the men and women who have served the United States military in one form or another on this edition of Haff in the Morning.
We have fought in every clime and place where we could take a gun. In the snow of far-off northern lands and in sunny tropic seas, you will find us always on the job, the United States Marine. Here's health to you and to our corps, which we are proud to serve. In many a strife we fought for life and never lost our nerve. If the Army and the Navy ever looked on heaven's seas, they will find the streets are guarded by United States Marines.
Off we go into the wild blue yonder, climbing high into the sun. Here they come, zooming to meet our thunder. Adam boys, give her the gun. Down we dive, spouting a flame from under. Off with one hell of a roar. We live in fame, we're down in flame. Nothing will stop the U.S. Air Force. Minds of men fashioned a crate of thunder, sent it high into the blue. Hands of men the right and to build the nation's might, and the army goes rolling along. Proud of all we have done, fighting till the battle's won, and the army goes rolling along. Then it's high, high, hey, the army's on its way. Count off the kids, hard and strong. For wherever we go, you will always know that the army goes rolling along.
Mexico is going to pay for the wall because he knows Mexico needs the U.S. when it comes to trade, just the way the U.S. needs Mexico.
I have to say that I am not going to pay for that wall. I am not.